Hey, everybody, it's Scott Steen with winnersandwhiners.com coming to you with the Friday edition of Today in Sports Betting. As always, I'm joined by the one and only Scott Reichel here to take a look first at the NBA, and then on our next video, make sure you stay tuned for that. We're going to take a look at the Western divisions in the MLB. So, Scott, that doesn't really sound right when you say the MLB, does it?
No, but you already said it, so it's already on the table.
I mean, you hear people say it all the time. They refer to it like it's actually the plural, but it's just Major League. It's the Major League Baseball. That makes no sense. So,
And I think it's just more of an acronym thing.
yes, exactly right. So, moving right along, got a couple of TV games tonight. Scott, you and I are going to call an audible on the first one. We just talked about that game the other day. Is the Milwaukee Bucks and the Boston Celtics. Milwaukee's at home. Giannis is healthier. Boston's going to be without a couple of pieces. You still taking Milwaukee in this one?
I think you have to, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they were up 25 before blowing it in the previous game.
You would think you would think that's how this one would go.
So some people might be scared and say, well, it is a back-to-back. They're going to be playing. Of course, that is true. And as we saw with the Knicks game, Washington got off to a good start in that one. But Boston's extremely shorthanded. And when you end up trading for players and they might not be able to play, and based on COVID, I highly doubt they'll be able to play in this game, Boston should have a short bench. And Milwaukee didn't really do anything. So they have the same roster, and I think they'll win the game by double digits probably.
So let's take a look at this one instead. Let's take a look. Maybe the most should be an entertaining game, Scott, as we get to see two of the brightest young stars. Well, I guess Jokic isn't all that young anymore, but it's the Denver Nuggets squaring off in the Big Easy against the Pelicans. Pelicans plus a deuce. Denver is a road favorite here, and the total has been made at 231. Scott, what you on here, buddy?
Well, first of all, I'm going to correct you briefly.
No.
I don't know what you consider young, but Jokic is 26.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's six, in these days, the NBA young, I guess, is 22, 23. That's why.
That's fair. Okay, fair enough. But
he's not an old head by any, but yeah, 26, that's actually going to be my guess.
He moves like a 40-year-old at the pickup game in the gym.
He's one of those guys that probably looked like he was like 30 when he was around 15 or so.
He's the one who got all his friends in Europe alcohol when he was like 15.
He did.
Mm-hmm.
So
for this matchup here, the question you have is once again, we just talked about with the Boston game, but Denver will be shorthanded for this game after it ended up acquiring Aaron Gordon. Now, It ended up giving up some minor pieces, gave up Hampton, who comes off the bench, also gave up Gary Harris, who has been a complete disaster for the last 2 years or so.
Yeah.
But looking at this actual matchup here, New Orleans has played a lot better lately. We already saw what Ingram and Zion did to the Lakers. But once again, that's the Lakers, so I don't know if that really means anything. Denver got killed in its last game by Toronto.
I think we all saw that coming.
Yeah, I think everyone saw that coming. Now, these teams did play each other in Denver back on March 21st, and New Orleans won the game outright by 5 points despite being 6.5-point underdogs. Now the line's 2 of the games in New Orleans. I don't really want anything to do with this Denver team. This team, especially with it being shorthanded, I don't exactly have much faith in. I think Monte Morris is definitely more valuable than people think. He's a very solid backup point guard. And with him out, using Capazzo and those guys who I don't think are very good, I know New Orleans might be without Lonzo Ball. J.J. Redick got traded, of course, but he was already injured. I like the way New Orleans has played, and Denver has absolutely no post defense at all. I don't think JaVale McGee will play in this game either. So with the lack of rim protection for Denver, I think you might see a similar script to what we saw with New Orleans and Los Angeles, which is just a lot of free layups for New Orleans. So I like the Pelicans. I think they'll win the game. And I also pretty much require to bet the over because it's the Pelicans.
Yeah, and you brought up didn't bring up Monte Morris, but he's questionable for this one. So
he hasn't played the last couple, I don't think, though.
Yeah, that's what they're hoping maybe to get him back here for Friday, and I haven't checked officially on him, but that's again these small pieces all add up when they're not part of the equation.
Yeah,
I'm with you. This Pelicans team has been playing pretty well, even without Lonzo. They've covered 5 of their last 6.
Yeah.
I think wrong team's favored here. I'm on the Pels. I mean, I know that's how they got to set the line. Denver is the better team on paper, certainly have the better record, but I think New Orleans is playing good ball right now.
I would set the line like that if Aaron Gordon was there or if McGee was there, but this team isn't, I don't want to say at full strength, but this team doesn't have a full available bench because they ended up trading a couple of people.
Right.
And New Orleans, this team has an identity. Don't get me wrong. If you figure out the identity, they're absolutely screwed because they can't adapt. But Denver doesn't play any defense. And we know that Zion and Ingram, I don't know who's going to guard either guy.
Yeah.
I mean, Porter Jr. is not a good defender. And you look at the inside for Denver, Jokic is one of the worst rim protecting bigs in the league. He's not going to be able to stop Zion.
I don't see it. Yeah, no, I don't know who's going to stop him. You're absolutely,
I'll tell you what, though,
right.
Watching the Laker game against the Pelicans was it 2 days ago?
Yeah, it was on Tuesday night.
Yeah. So it was either Tuesday or Wednesday. But anyway, the one thing I did notice from that game, especially with Alonzo being out, Eric Bledsoe is still terrible. He is so bad. If you just try to watch him play, he's one of my least favorite players on the team, in the league. He's just not good at basketball. And I know that people tried to argue, well, he made a first-team defensive team a couple of years ago. You know, he had some moments. No, he's just bad. Like, he's just not a good basketball player. And I think Denver would have been better off. Not Denver. I think New Orleans would have been better off trying to trade him. So that's my one caveat. I think if New Orleans loses, expect Bledsoe to have an abysmal game because he's going to be pretty much running the point for the entire game. But, wow, he's bad. If you just notice him without Lonzo because he has the ball in his hands more, oh, boy. Am I being harsh, or do you feel the same way?
I think you're being harsh. I really do. I'd say he's an average guard. I don't have the hate for him that you do. I gotta be honest with you.
I was still biased from his tenure at Milwaukee, but still, if I just tried watching him this year, and I can't stand him at all.
So what do they do with Jokic? They double up Jokic?
Well, it depends on what you exactly think they should do with him. I don't think you can double because he's too good of a passer. The thing is that Jokic, even though he's fantastic with his touch, he's not exactly the most athletic guy. Do you think Adams can guard him?
You see him running the point the other night?
I know he can run the point. I'm just talking about from speed and from just strength. Do you think Adams could potentially stay in front of him?
Well, that's the thing. I don't know. How much faith do you have in Steven Adams?
I think Jackson Hayes is too skinny, so I don't think Hayes is an option, even though he's a pretty good rim protector. But I'd assume Steven Adams is going to be playing a lot, trying to guard.
Yeah.
That'd be my guess.
That's exactly what's going to happen.
So they've done it before. I think it'll work out.
They did it 2 days ago, so we'll see what happens. But
the thing is that Jokic is guaranteed to put up good numbers anyway, and yet Denver's still been pretty underwhelming this season. The record's fine, but you look at the team and go, Jamal Murray, what's up?
Well, that's the thing, because you've got Zion to negate Jokic or hopefully get close, but you've got no secondary scorer like the Pelicans do in Ingram.
That's what I think. People can talk about Murray and how he showed that one burst for about a week and a half, 2 weeks in the bubble. I mean, this year he might have.
Yeah, no, dude, no. He that was over even before the bubble was over.
I was gonna say he might have, found a little bit more over the last couple of weeks, but he kind of regressed once again after about a week or two before the All-Star break. No, he's a good point guard. He's just not the guy that everyone's expecting him to be.
No, he's not Ingram. I'll just say that.
In terms of scoring, Ingram's a better scorer.
Yes, absolutely.
So we'll see.
All right. So I think we're in agreement here. I'm on the Pelicans as well.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about the late game here, buddy. It's a barn burner, Scott.
It's deja vu, isn't it? From last year, you have Golden State on primetime with no Curry in the lineup.
Yeah, that's exactly right. As this is again quite a game here. This is the Atlanta Hawks continuing their West Coast swing against the Golden State Warriors. Hawks 5.5-point road favorite, Scott. 220, and the hook is your number. Can you trust the Hawks here in this spot?
I think you kind of have to.
Golden
It-
State looked really, really bad against the Kings tonight, or last night, rather.
I thought they were really finding their stride once they allowed 140 points.
Yeah.
It was bad. De'Aaron Fox went up for 44. Like, they couldn't do anything.
141 to 119, and I don't take that as a harbinger that Golden State's going to score a lot of points just because they put up 119 on the Kings. I mean, you roll out of bed and put up 100 on the Kings, and then you start playing. So
It's also a back-to-back. So that's not a fun time either, having to play an up-tempo team that runs up and down the court for the entire game. You're going back and forth. And then you get killed, and they tell you, oh, you got to do it again tomorrow.
yeah, and this is an Atlanta team that's been playing much better defense since Nate McMillan took over. We talked a little bit about that. They've given up just shy. They've given up 101.8 points per game in the 10 games that McMillan has coached, which is just about a 9-point improvement over their mark before that. So they have made defense a real priority here, and I think this is a real good team to continue your defensive ways against.
Well, the thing is, you look at Atlanta and you say, well, the West Coast road trip hasn't gone too well so far. Lost the Clippers, lost to the Kings. And my counter argument would be that the Hawks were up 15 against the Clippers at the half, ended up blowing a pretty big lead there. But the Clippers have been playing really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
They're one of the hottest teams in the league, and people just haven't noticed. And Sacramento, who I've roasted earlier in the year with Luke Walton, how I thought he should have been fired and everything, ever since Bagley got injured and Halliburton entered the starting lineup, this team's been really good. And I think that the matter of the fact is, even though I'm not a big Walton guy, I still don't think the Kings are a fantastic team. With Halliburton in the starting lineup, with Hield and with Fox, this team is actually a borderline playoff team based on how they've played lately. Just solely based on how they played with the new starting lineup. So
in the East.
Yeah, so I'm saying I don't think that those two losses are as bad as people make it out to be. The Kings game, they lost by 2, and Sacramento just killed this Golden State team by what felt like 45.
Right.
And you also have Atlanta, who was already in California because, of course, they played the Clippers and Sacramento, so travel shouldn't be that big of a deal. And Golden State did play against Sacramento on the road yesterday before traveling home, which once again is kind of a similar travel spot there with no day off in between. So I think you have to go with Atlanta because this team, A, has the better players because Curry's out. B, Steve Kerr, I know he's trying because they don't have much talent. Whatever he's talking isn't working.
Right.
So I actually think McMillan might have an edge here because he's completely reinvented the identity of this team.
Correct.
And with Golden State, I know you have Wiseman. You have a couple of big men there. Can anyone stop John Collins? Because I don't think they can.
No, I don't. I think that's going to be part of the problem.
And you can talk about Atlanta and how, they lost Rondo. He barely played anyway. So it's not like, I think that's going to play a huge factor there. So Lou Williams, of course, should not be playing in this game. He should end up joining them for the game after. But based on this spot, with the Warriors playing a back-to-back after playing a track meet the night prior, I got to take the team that plays defense. I got to assume Golden State's going to come out extremely flat.
Yeah, I would. I think this is a spot where Golden State could put up less than 100.
Mm.
I'll take. I'll take Atlanta and lay in the points on the road here, -5.5.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
All right. Anything else on the card to grab your attention?
Really, no. I'm still looking through some play of the day stuff. Could potentially be on a game we just talked about. Not fully sure yet. I am kind of curious about one game.
What's that?
It's the Nets game against the Pistons.
Yeah.
Nets are laying 5.5. I'm assuming Harden's going to play because he barely sits out games. And we both said, or I predicted he wouldn't play. And I said the line against Utah, and the line went, which I thought would go to 10, went to 13. So I kind of undercut that a little bit. I'm assuming Harden's going to play in this game. Having said that, Detroit's actually given the Nets a lot of problems this season. Maybe it's just matchup based. I'm not really sure why, but Detroit has actually kept games really close against the Nets. I don't really know if I want to lay 5.5 with the Nets here. First of all, I don't even know if Harden's going to play. Kyrie's still going to be out. Why do you think Detroit's given the Nets such a hard time?
It has to be a situational thing. I don't know that it's a matchup thing, but yeah, like you said, they've Detroit beat them outright by 11 as a 5.5-point dog back in February, and then on the return engagement there in New York, Nets 11.5-point favorite, beat them by 5. So
Now was around a tie game with about 3 minutes to go.
yeah, I think at least I had Brooklyn on that as a play,
Mhm.
and no, I wasn't laying 11.5. Never mind. Nope, wasn't that one. But yeah, I don't know, and I don't know that there's certainly a small sample size.
I was saying the 2 meetings they've had, Denver's actually not Denver, Detroit's actually fared pretty well.
Yeah, I know. I just don't know if that's an aberration. I don't know. Somebody's having an off night shooting. I don't know. There's enough to base a cap on one way or the other, I guess is my point.
I don't know either, but I actually think that Detroit might be live in this game. Pure hunt.
There's other, depending on the number, but yeah, there's other goofier games out there. There's some serious. You can take. I think the most interesting line of the night, Scott, is in this Portland Orlando game where Orlando's down. Everybody.
You think you could get a spot as 11th man on this?
I think they've got the Zamboni driver starting as the point guard for Orlando, but I'm so tempted because it looks like such an obvious spot, but then again, it's Portland.
Yeah.
So
Portland also played a pretty close game against Miami yesterday. You got to wonder about fatigue a little bit.
Right.
But
right.
I don't know if do you think McCollum plays? He had 30-plus points. He was great. But they also did just bring him back from a pretty serious injury. I am curious if they might potentially just try to rest him for back-to-backs.
Might not be a bad spot.
If you're the coach, if you're Terry Stotts, and you think that your team can't beat Orlando without your second-best player, you should basically just resign.
You know who they are getting back?
I don't know where this is going. Nurkic. They're getting Nurkic back tomorrow.
They are getting Nurkic back for this game. Well, he's probable anyway. It looks like he's going to go.
Well, Orlando can stop him with Vooz. No, they can't. No, they can't. What do they have? Mo Bamba? What do they have? Cam Birch? Is that what you're rolling out there? You got Cam Birch there? Oh, boy. That team's going to have some serious problems. I'll tell you what, though. If you want to look for player props in that game, look to Terrence Ross over. Because with nobody else on the team, he's going to probably take around 20-something shots per game.
Feed me, Seymour. And
you know that Terrence Ross, if you've actually tried watching Orlando, it's a very tough proposition for people. He never passes. Ever. He has never seen a shot that he doesn't like.
All right. Well, I wish we had a little better Friday night action for NBA because that's all that's on with the colleges kind of taking a pause. But
yeah.
It is what it is. You know what? We'll be back tomorrow, talk a little NCAA. I know that's where everybody's head's at. So let's go out there and get a couple of victories here today. As always, we wish you guys nothing but the best. Hope every one of those tickets in your pocket turns into cash money back at the window. You guys have a great day. For myself, for Scott Reichel, for all of us at Winners and Winers, we appreciate you watching. I would appreciate it if you'd give us a thumbs up, maybe subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And we'll see you next time on Today in Sports Betting. Take care, everybody.